Hi guys, it's Kelly here, and I'm back with another video. Today's video features this Time for Cake stamp from Hero Arts. This also has matching dies if you're into that, but today we're going to be making a one-layer card. So one of the things that I had asked you a couple of weeks ago, a couple of videos ago, not really sure how to time span that, was if there's any specific types of videos you would like to see. And one of the things that I got a request for multiple times was making one-layer cards. So there is an accompanying video to this one. This video is the same as I would always make them, where I show kind of just like my whole process and the coloring and the whole card beginning to end. There is another video that is just putting down the stamps, the masks, some tips and tricks on how I match them up or how I lay them out to make sure everything makes sense. So if you're interested in that, that will also be posted. I'll do the same thing that I normally do here, where I'm not just going to like leave you hanging through all the things that I do, but it probably will not be as in-depth because those portions of how I got here are not in this video. I just didn't feel like it was necessary. So here I'm stamping my first layer of stamps with a one-layer card. Whatever you want to see the most of, you stamp first. So in this case, I want my slice of cake and my cupcake to be in front of everything else that's going to be on my little birthday countertop here. So I stamp those first, and then I will mask them and then continue stamping the items that are going to be behind them. Here you can see me stamping and inking multiple times because I am using my old ink pad. I had thrown my new one that I had just ordered from Ellen Hudson into my backpack and was taking it to work with me, and that was in my car at the time I was doing this, so I was just kind of making do with my old one. So here I've cut all my masks. I have everything laid out how I want them to be, and then once I get my next layer of stamps lined up, I just remove those masks. The only thing that I am going to make sure I keep masked are the items that I've already stamped, so that little cupcake and the slice of cake. For the happy birthday and the candles, I have to stamp those first because if I don't, you're going to be able to see where the cake stamps through those items. So even though it's a super tiny little image, it's a super little guy, I have to still mask them because otherwise it's not going to make any sense in the scene. So the happy birthday like sign portion I think is actually also a candle, which is really cute. I've never bought one that was quite that big. For this one on the left here, this candle on the left, I knew that I was stamping it in a spot that was way too close to the edge of my cake, but I also was kind of banking on the fact that I could fix it with the coloring, because otherwise my candle was going to be up far too high and it was going to look wonky. So I just knew I was going to have to risk it and see if I could fix it with my coloring. I think we did do okay. But we'll talk about that when we get to that portion of the coloring. So here everything is stamped. I'm just removing my masks. You can see that one candle that I'm talking about where it's like way super up front, almost into the missing portion, which just something of note, which I find interesting. The piece that is missing does not match the slice that is cut. So I couldn't color them the same because they're not the same. The slice that is cut actually has the same kind of decoration as the one that has the happy birthday on it. Isn't that interesting? So here, Peanut Butter was learning how to measure in class, so I let him use my clear ruler to measure. Now, it was already cracked. I mean, they're not very expensive. It was already cracked, and he inadvertently broke it entirely. So I had not yet ordered a new one. So here I'm just using like a clear piece of acetate because I needed something clear so I could see all of my stamping, and I knew I wasn't making my lines too close to the actual wording. the game plan behind these was just basically, I thought they'd be cute as little signs or banners or whatever for the birthday party that we're clearly having here, right? So now we're going to get into the coloring. You could certainly, and I have in the past, colored the background of things with like distress inks or just any kind of ink blending. I did not want to cut masks for the signs, so I opted to just do it all with my Copic markers. Here, what I'm doing is giving the signs a shadow. So kind of bringing the lines off at an angle to the, like from the top right down to the bottom left. And I'm doing that on each side to give them a little bit of depth and see, like, to make them look like they're popping off the wall. And then I'm also going to color my darker blues back behind my images, and it will get lighter as we move up the wall. This just helps kind of make the scene make sense, that there would be a light source on the right-hand side that would be helping these signs or these items to kind of cast shadows and give them just a little bit more dimension so they don't just look like white squares on a blue wall. Know what I'm saying? So as far as life, it has, on April 1st, so what's today? Today's April 3rd when I'm doing this. Probably won't be when this goes up, but that's when I'm doing this. On April 1st, I left work a little bit early. I left work about 2 hours early because Eric and I had something going on the next day. I was heading into off days, and I wanted to be able to get up. So I was like, well, I'm just going to leave at 5. There's not going to be anything going on anyway. At 5 o'clock on April 1st, in the great state of Ohio, I walked out to a full-on blizzard of which I needed to clean off my car so that I could get into it and go home. There was that much snow. That much snow. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, winter just, I mean, there's always one. Typically it's at the end of March. Rarely we'll get into April where it's still snowing. But I mean, it snowed all day. It snowed all day. It was 28 degrees on April 1st. I was so mad about it. Like, we were driving back. We had gone to get Peanut's Easter stuff. And it was like a total whiteout, guys. Like, he was like, where? He's like, I can just cut up this street right behind the dispatch center to get to Target. And I was like, I don't even know where we are. Like, I was looking up something on my phone. It was a complete whiteout. I couldn't even tell. I couldn't even tell where we were located. Like, that's how bad it was. Then, like I said, it proceeded to snow all day. It was cold and miserable. And then yesterday, it didn't snow, but it was still like 32, 35. Like, come on. Can we just be done with this? Like, everybody's done with winter at this point. We're all done with it. It's over. Let it go. So today, the high is 56, which is so much better. So much better. And then this coming week, it's supposed to be like in the 60s and 70s, which is much more spring. I approve. That's acceptable weather behavior. But like we talked about before, that does mean more mud monsters because there's going to be raining more often. But we're hoping, here's hoping, that when they come in to do the pool, the extra dirt like that they dig up when they install the pool, we're hoping to kind of put that in the back of the yard where we can kind of gate it off from the dogs to level it out so we don't have the same kind of pond that we've been having for the last, 2 years that we've been here. Has it been that long? Yeah, I guess it kind of has. We're coming up, 1.5, 2 years. Whew. Time flies. But anyway, so here with the signs, I'm just adding a little bit of gray shading to the left and the right. Again, this is just going to give it a little bit of dimension so it doesn't look like a flat white square. I went out to 5, but I just did one line of my C5. Like, I just right on the edges did one line, and then a little bit of C3 and a little bit of 1 to completely blend it out. I tried to leave the middle section completely white. So that's that. Anything that, and you'll see, I'm going to move on from coloring this to anything else that I want to do, quote unquote, white. because it is very easy to pick up other colors when you're coloring with a light gray, well, really any light color. It's easy to pick up what's around it and kind of drag it if you're not careful. And obviously, you don't want to do that. So here, I'm using those same gray markers, and I'm going to do the bottom, like countertop. This pretty much, you want your darker shadows to be more toward the back or closer to your object, and your lighter colors to be more forward. That's pretty much all there is to say about that. Then just fill that bad boy in. You could do it any color you wanted. I just do gray because it's a neutral, and I knew I was going to do some like rainbow colors. My apologies again for my allergies, because I have them, and they are what they are, and I can't control them. So there's that. Anything else? Is there anything else been going on in my life? Not really. We talked about swim lessons the last time, which was good. Easter is tomorrow, so that's exciting. We went and saw Eric's family yesterday. Both of us have to work on Easter. Now, I work a little bit later, but he works his normal shift earlier in the day. So we went out and saw his family yesterday and had dinner, which was good. It was nice to see everybody. Peanut was super excited. He has, I should say, slowly but surely kind of developed his own relationship with Eric's side of the family. You can tell now he has substantially more comfortable. Last week, Eric had to work a side job during the day. So his mom came out and, hung out with Nathan so I could sleep, because I also had to work. And they dyed Easter eggs, and they had a lot of fun together. So it's nice to see that relationship, that bonding is going on. I know in the beginning, like, nobody wants to force it. Everybody wants it to kind of happen naturally, but you're all kind of waiting for it to happen to see if it's, you know what I mean? Like, it's stressful for everyone. Peanut's a little bit uncomfortable because, they're new people and he's very shy. I'm a little bit like, let's not force him and let it happen. And Eric's a little bit like, I want him to like my family. So everybody knew just kind of it was going to happen when it happened. And fortunately, we are to the point where there's not really any uncomfortableness. There's not like everybody gets like that relationship. It's very easy for him to say Grandma T. There's no hesitation there. So that's super nice. Anybody who has kind of blended families, that it can be a little bit challenging. But we're doing good. It's good. Yeah, like when I did my taxes, this is crazy to me. So when I did my taxes, there's now this form that you have to do. Now, I've never done it before. It's just understood that I claim Nathan during the even years, and my ex-husband claims Nathan during the odd years. So this year, filing for 2020, is my year. And the tax place, who has been doing my taxes for multiple years now, this is not like I got a new person and there all of a sudden you have to fill out this form. I guess the government has decided that everybody has to fill out this form now, which is a form that says that you fill out, and then your ex-husband, wife, child's father, child's mother fills out, that says that you will not claim them. That it's my year to claim them, and you are waiving your right to claim them. And so for me, that's no issue, because there's no issue in our relationship. Like, he comes over to pick up Peanut, I say, hey, can you sign this form? And then he signs the form, and like the one that's kind of like a little is he's got to put his social security number on it. So like I could see how somebody would have some hesitation there, especially if you don't particularly trust your ex-wife, ex-husband, child's father, child's mother, you know what I'm saying? Now that's not a situation for us, and obviously I will have to fill out the form for him next year. But I asked the tax lady, I said, what happens if you are having a estranged relationship with your child's other parent? Like, what are you supposed to do? And she was like, we actually had a guy who last year could not file his taxes because he could not get his child's mother to sign the form. Like, isn't that crazy? Like, if you, I mean, I have, both of us, I shouldn't say just I, both of us have been a huge proponent ever since we got divorced that, like, Nathan's priority. Um, but, so that wasn't really an issue for us, but I just can't even imagine, like, I've seen some really nasty, um, divorce and custody disputes and everything else, like, how those people get that done, I do not know. But anyway, so they moved up um, we were talking about the pool and the dirt. They moved up the installation of the pool. So originally they were talking about end of July or end of June, beginning of July. They have now moved us up to May, which is exciting because, so the way that it works is, I guess, is they drop it off and then anytime within the next 3 weeks, they can install it. So they're dropping it off May 8th. So that gives us anytime in the next 3 weeks, which the end of the 3 weeks would be May 22nd, which is Peanut's birthday. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that first of all, the weather is nice enough to even entertain the idea of getting in the pool, but also that the pool is installed and we've been able to put like the solar cover on it and it's somewhat warm, and then maybe he would be able to go swimming for his birthday. Now, I know these are lofty goals on my part because May is not always, I mean, my middle sister got married in May to her first husband, and it was a beautiful sunny day, but it was freezing. It was like barely 40 degrees. It was so cold. So May's unpredictable, and I get that, but I'm hopeful because I think he would really, really like to be able to do that. Not that we could have, a ton of people over. We can't, obviously. There's only a portion of us that are vaccinated. Eric is. His parents are. My mom and dad, I think, have had their first shot. And Graham had their first shot. Or maybe they're scheduled for their first shot. But I obviously am not. I don't have any of the health problems or the age bracket or anything like that. So I'm not eligible yet. I'm not up for it. But hopefully by the time May comes, it'll be a different situation. My best friend and goddaughter have already had it. They didn't have the vaccine yet, but they both already had COVID. So I know there was one of the girls that Eric worked with that I obviously used to work with. She had it, and then she went to go get the vaccine, and she had a terrible, terrible allergic reaction, which I know that I've seen things that say, like, if you had it and you get the vaccine, you're likely to have a stronger reaction to the vaccine. I don't know. I'm not, I mean, I'm not a specialist. I can just, you only can read so much, honestly. But so here's hoping everybody is a little bit further down the line in the vaccination, closer to his birthday, and we won't have to have a, drive-by garage party like we did last year. That'd be great for him anyway. So, yeah, pretty much just working. I'm coming up on my 1-year anniversary for work, which is kind of crazy. So April 13th will be 1 year. And because I came in as a lateral versus what they call a new hire, there's certain things that I get that new hires don't get. I don't get any seniority, which is totally understandable because I'm switching jobs and I make that decision to give up my seniority. But you do get, like, your vacation time. And so in my interview, I asked about the vacation time because obviously that would be somewhat important. Hold on 1 second, back to the card. So here, when I colored the H, well, the H and the H actually, or is that the H and the R? Nope, that's the H and the H. I was kind of adding shading on the edges. I was adding shading, where it curled around. Ultimately, I changed what I was doing. Ultimately, I ended up adding shading just from the bottom towards the top, and that's how I did all of the rest of them, because it was just too, it was just too crazy to kind of get in there and shade all of those little pieces when when you really couldn't even tell, that's what the shading was for. So like I said earlier, I knew I was going to do some rainbow colors. So amongst all of my, chocolate or caramel coloring, I am sprinkling just a little bit of like red and yellow to kind of balance out that blue background and add just a few more pops of color. So anywho, back to my year. So during my interview, I had asked about the vacation time, and they told me that based on how many years you're a dispatcher, there is a schedule that is already set up in the contract, and you get the vacation based on that schedule. Okay, cool. So I look at because before I even went into my interview, I had looked at the contract. Because who wouldn't? When you're joining a union, like, you need to know what your contract says. So I went back and looked at it just to double check it. And what you get is if you have less than 5 years experience, you get 2 weeks of vacation. If you have more than 5 years experience, you get 2 weeks of vacation. If you have more than 10 years, nope, I don't know what I'm talking about. Less than 5, you get 2. More than 5, you get 3. More than 10, you get 4. Well, I am in my 16th year. It will be 17 in July of this year of how long I've been dispatching. And that even includes the years I was clerking, because even when I was clerking, I was dispatching part-time for other departments. So, but even if I hadn't been, okay, let's just say that I didn't dispatch at all while I clerked. I still have more than 10 years because I had 10 years with my original department. So 4 weeks, right? The other day I was talking to my supervisor. I asked her if she could show me where my vacation would show, like in our time bank, because I wanted to make sure on the 3rd that it popped in there and it was the correct amount. And so she shows me and she was like, when are you supposed to get it? I said the 13th. She said, okay, I'll look into it. So the last time I worked, she came to me and she was like, hey, I found it. And actually there was some weird wording in the contract that said that you're supposed to get your vacation on your 1-year hire date. It doesn't specify full time. So I actually should have got my vacation back in December because that was my actual hire date for when I went part-time. And she's like, so you'll be getting it, you'll be getting it regardless. And I'm like, okay. And she was like, the only thing is, like, the way that it's worded in the contract is it says at their discretion. So they might not give you 4 weeks. To which my response was, if they don't give me 4 weeks, I'm going to file a grievance. Because it says in there, at the city's discretion, for a lateral hire, they can choose to assign more vacation time based on the schedule below. So the discretion part of it is that they're allowed to hire somebody as a lateral and give them more vacation time than a new hire. The discretion part of it is not how much they can give them. So we'll see. I know there was another girl who had a hard time getting her vacation time, and she ended up filing a grievance and winning and getting her 4 weeks. So that makes me a little bit more, I guess, comfortable to know that somebody else already did it. So we'll just see. Hopefully they don't give me a hard time about it, and I can just get my 4 weeks of vacation and be a happy camper. Not that typically I'm taking 4 vacations in a year, you know what I mean? But it's nice to have the time off, especially when you work. Like, the 12-hour shifts are really nice, because then, like, so this weekend, okay, is my long weekend. So I'll work 12 on Saturday, I'll work 8 on Sunday, I'll work 12 on Monday. I'll be off Tuesday and Wednesday. I'll work 12 on Thursday, I'll work 12 on Friday. It's a very long week. But then I'll be off on Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I'll work 12 on Tuesday, 12 on Wednesday, and be off Thursday, Friday. Those weeks are glorious. Those weeks are wonderful. Because essentially you're only working like 2 days. But it does mean when you go to take vacation time or you go to take a night off for something, you're not just spending 8 hours like you used to be. You're spending a full 12, which eats the bank up quite quickly, as I'm sure you can imagine. So yeah, so I would like to just have the time in my bank if I need it. And then if you don't use it, like you can carry over, I think, a year. So if like that particular year you don't have a whole lot going on, then great, just roll it over. Just roll it over and use it next year. So, but I am excited to hit my 1 year and just be where I'm supposed to be, because you can't even pick, um, like you can't even pick your vacation or your priority days off or anything like that until you've been there for a year. So this past January, when everybody else picked, I couldn't pick, and neither could anybody underneath me, until everybody else had already picked their 2-3 weeks of vacation, had already picked their priority days off, had already picked everything was picked over, and then we were allowed to pick. So fortunately for me, the shift that I ended up on, a lot of the days that I wanted off, I already had, so that was less of an issue. It wasn't really a huge problem. So here they have these cute little like the little light lines, the little spark lines for the candles. So I'm just adding those in. And then there's pretty much not too much else I'm going to do. It was just the stamping and the coloring, just like most of my other cards. I am going to go in and add some white highlights where the cake is. Oh, we didn't even talk about that candle. Let's briefly hit on that. So as you can see with the candle, on the right hand side, the blue one, I just really went over the bottom of it with those darker browns to kind of mask it out. And then when I go back through and outline with my pen, because when I go back through and do that, I'm not going to outline that portion. I'm going to stop the outline higher. So even in real life, when you're looking at it, not just on the computer screen, it looks like the candle stops much sooner than the stamp actually does. So putting in these white highlights, I just think it adds a little bit, just a little bit of something kind of fun to the card. And then really kind of highlights those little layers in between the rainbow, those little layers in between the slice of cake, the wicks on the happy birthday. Those are all things that, adding the little white highlight to helps them show up. And then here's what guys talked about, outlining those candles. The other two candles I outlined fully. The blue one I did not. I stopped short of it. So that way, like I said, you wouldn't be able to see the full candle, which the dark brown is it's a good pick for that, because you can't see. You really cannot see it. It's one of the darkest colors that Copic offers. So outside of just going in there with straight black, which wouldn't make sense in this scenario, the brown worked just fine. So this is me adding the glitters, and then that's it. That's pretty much the whole card. The glitters is the last part. You certainly don't have to add the glitters, but I highly recommend it, as all birthday parties are better with the glitters. And mine's just clear. It's just a clear. I think this is the Nuvo one, but I also use the clear Wink of Stella, and both of those work really well for me. So thank you guys so much for joining me. Hope you enjoyed the little mini life update, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.